Yeah, so uh, Dr. Katherine Horton is a physicist, systems analyst, uh, and she will tell us all about how to defeat a uh, bigger opponent with systems judo, and bring us through all kinds of case studies. But this is I mean, uh, I'm an Aikido yellow belt for whatever. That's just a second belt, so it's not a big deal. But uh, I'm going to turn the proceedings over to you because this is fascinating. So, without further ado, from the Joint Investigation Team that you can find at jointinvestigationteam.org, Dr. Katherine Horton coming to us from Switzerland. Katherine.
Hello. Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you for the great honor to be addressing your audience, Alfred. I hope I can offer them an insight. It's probably a very tough audience because I think your audience must be one of the most enlightened and battle-hardened people out there. So I have the rough task of trying to offer them something new that they don't know yet. So I will do my best. But maybe a little bit of background how I came to do this, because I am originally a particle physicist. I did 1 year in medical physics when I left particle physics in search of more meaningful research projects, and I hit on huge inefficiency and incredible misdemeanor. And it was also after the financial crisis hit, so I was in search of understanding complex human systems. And when my research projects in medical physics were cut short by external forces, I set out on a quest to actually understand complex human systems. So I started with the English legal system, and I've analyzed to the best of my ability the court system as it was accessible to me. Then I studied currency systems and economies and white collar crime and many other complex human systems. And eventually I realized that I was a target of British intelligence and the Western intelligence services more widely. So at first I had a very academic interest in systems. And before I knew it, it became a battle for survival. So first of all, apologies also to your audience, because maybe some have been waiting for us to come online. These are due to attacks on me personally that I suffer daily. So I'm being attacked with directed energy weapons. I'm also implanted with microchips that I used to torture me. So, usually it's quite a mouthful, but I think your audience is one of those who actually have heard about these topics before. So it will not shock them to hear something like that. So my team, the Joint Investigation Team, was founded in 2017, and we are specifically trying to stop these crimes committed with directed energy weapons and stop the non-consensual covert implanting of humans with microchips and nanotechnology. And we're also battling something that is called neurotech. And these are all very, very advanced topics. So at the moment, I wish it weren't thus, but at the moment, I think we're the only international team that is publicly fighting this and is trying to help the victims. So we're in the process of preparing court cases, trying to find evidence for these military technologies that can be used in court, and we're trying to assist the victims. So everything I'm saying today is informed by my experience as a victim. I've survived several assassination attempts, or mock assassination attempts, if you like, by the intelligence agencies. I have been assaulted and physically tortured for 2 years with microchips and direct energy weapons. And I have experienced pretty much every sort of sabotage that they have in the books. So for me, basically this term system judo is a phrase I came up with. And what I mean by that is trying to use the principles of judo and apply them to complex human systems. Now, for those people who don't know much about judo, I think it's I think the precursor of judo was jujitsu, if I'm not misinformed here. And eventually the school of judo grew out of that. And the entire premise of judo, I'm not an expert on the martial arts side of this, I should say. But from what I have read, the entire premise is to use the inertia of a bigger a much weightier opponent against him and bring him to fall. So you are looking for using pivot points and using, lever effects and really fighting a much bigger opponent that in other types of martial arts you might not be able to fight against. For example, in boxing, I think they try to match people according to weight, very carefully. Because if you mismatch opponents, you will just finish off one side always. There's no sport in that. But in judo, it is actually possible to fight a much bigger opponent. So I was thinking, how can you apply the systems, the principles of judo to complex human systems? And these problems go right to the heart of most problems that activists face, because your finances might be strapped, you might be isolated, you don't have the platforms, you don't have access to mainstream media. So most of the time, perhaps you feel like you can't make yourself be heard, you can't really be campaigning for your issues or accumulate enough clout. So the question is, how can you use the strength and the skills that you have to really damage a bigger opponent, or basically bring him to fall, or certainly make him move in a direction that you want him to move in? So this is the entire question that we are concerned with today. And what I would like to start with is just a couple of pointers, because I think your audience will be a mix of people. So for some, a rough description will be enough, and there will be others who really want to go into the details of everything and maybe also educate themselves and pick up new tools and weapons for the fight. So Alfred, if I may just share my screen, I'll try to actually open up a few things that might be interesting for people. So can people see my screen? Is this visible? Okay. I can't actually hear you, Alfred, so if you nod.
Yes,
Okay.
your screen is highly visible, and probably if you want to play videos or show PowerPoints, it'll work.
Okay, fantastic. So very briefly, I don't want to plug my site specifically, but there are some links here that might be useful. So I've got a YouTube channel that you can find by looking for Stop 007. This is my site because I'm fighting the intelligence agency. So James Bond being 007, British intelligence. So my site is called Stop 007. So on YouTube, if you go to the front page, in the middle section, you will find an entire course, which is called The War Against the Psychopathic System. And I would like to draw your attention, or your viewers' attention, to the very first set of 7 videos. It's called Systems Analysis Basics. And there I will just, on a whiteboard using magnets, explain the basic principles of a pyramid organization, which is the structure that's adopted by virtually every organization on the planet. So the World Bank is a pyramid organization, so is the army, your average company is a pyramid organization. And it arises out of the fact that as humans, we are group animals and we like to follow a leader. So when we're in groups, we organize ourselves such that you will have a group leader, a team leader, and then maybe teams or team leaders themselves might be following a head of department, and the heads of department would be following the boss. And this sort of arrangement happens naturally all around the world and has happened throughout ages. So it is very natural to us, I would say it is entirely an artifact of our genetics, the fact that we are genetically programmed to be group animals. I don't think you will have pyramid hierarchies with cats, for example. I mean, certain types of cats, like lions, they have their pride, but cats, the average cat, like a tiger or your domestic cat, will be a loner. So, and everybody who has a cat knows that it's impossible to make them really follow your commands, even if you want to. If a cat doesn't want to, it doesn't do anything. So this is very fundamental to us, and we never question this pyramid organization, but it comes with incredible dangers and incredible pitfalls. So here in this course, I go into the different details of what can go wrong, and I also explain how to recapture systems and what a system inversion is. And the entire lecture course is fairly general, but it uses the example of the intelligence agencies and the criminality that's proliferating in them as an example. So for everybody who's interested in further information on this, I really recommend just clicking around, and maybe YouTube also recommends some related videos. For those who really like to read up about this and don't really know about systems analysis, I highly recommend it, because the systems analysis is going right to the core of every single thing that surrounds us. It's not just in politics and the law and in physical systems. It is in virtually absolutely everything, including how we organize information. So once you start thinking in terms of systems and not just individual incidences and what happened to you personally, you will very quickly gather insights that you can use to actually make your life easier. So I have read a couple of books on systems analysis, of course, but my absolute favorite as an introduction is really Donella Meadows' Thinking in Systems. So this woman really has a talent. This particular book you can get, I think, for $11. And it is really money well invested, because first of all, she writes beautifully. And she also has a wonderful talent to break down complex systems and explain them really intuitively. So after you have read this book, a lot of things in your life might become, obvious, and will help you to avoid mistakes or misconceptions in future. So in terms of literature, I really recommend this book as an introduction. But then, it's also no good just to be looking at the academic side. I mean, by the way, Donella Meadows, I think her husband also, Dr. Med, both were PhDs. So her husband, Dr. Meadows, I forgot his first name, maybe it was John. They were both very, highly regarded, and I think did a lot of work. I think they might have, so in all these international committees, so you will find lots of information on them. Unfortunately, Donella Meadows passed away from breast cancer, I believe. But her work is absolutely seminal. And also she was the person, or I'm not sure if maybe more people put this advanced this idea, but she was the first who I think popularized this idea of pivot points. So when you're trying to turn a big inert system, pivot points are the key of how to turn this around, how to turn big systems around. So I mention it because pivot points will become relevant later. But in a nutshell, a pivot point is when the entire system comes together and there's a moment in its development when you can actually turn it, where it has enough motion and dynamism that you can actually use its own inertia to just divert it in another direction, if you want to change the direction a system is evolving in. So recognizing pivot points in complex systems and using them can be life-saving, sometimes for entire nations, And but ultimately, the real question is, why on earth do we even need systems analysis? I mean, it sounds so complex, and it's just, what is it good for? Most of us got through our lives not needing systems analysis, so why the hell, do I come along and say we all really should learn it for our own survival? How to explain this? So the reason why we really need systems analysis ultimately goes back to the fact that the systems we're dealing with every day, sometimes without noticing, involve actually infrastructure that is based on thousands and thousands of people. working together to make something happen. This is the internet connection that we're talking on right now. It's my operating system. It's basically the light fittings and the electricity grid that makes sure that you can still see me because the lights are on, even though it's dark here in Zurich. And all these things involve thousands of people. But now the real limiting factor is that no one on the planet can actually stay in touch and exchange information over a longer period of time with more than 60 people. So how on earth can we as humanity, basically keep all this running and keep it juggling and coordinate each other when we can only talk to maybe 60 people and stay in regular contact with them? If it's any more than 60 people, you know what it feels like to be swamped by email, you don't get their messages, and so on and so on. So this is a fundamental mathematical and physical limitation to the information that we can process. Okay, so we can only take in so much information, every single one of us, and we can only work through so much at a time. So this really limits our communication abilities, and ultimately it limits the speed with which we can get stuff done, or when serious danger is unfolding, the speed with which we can act to actually prevent disasters from happening. So systems analysis is kind of, it's actually physics, okay? It's maths and physics combined. But what it allows you to do is to climb out of a system, climb up and basically look down from the big picture down and know exactly what is happening. And when you can communicate the systems analysis idea to many, many people, they can do the same. And suddenly everybody can have the CEO's look on the company or on the nation and know exactly what's going on. And everybody can act accordingly. So everybody will immediately have the right information and will know in what direction to start moving. So systems analysis is a lifesaver. If we don't learn to use it properly, and if you don't learn to use it to our advantage, I don't think we can get through the 21st century, for the simple reason that our systems are becoming ever more complex. Our computer systems, and then people are coming up with the Internet of Things, adding even more interconnectivity, which will make actually the problems that will be thrown up go up exponentially to the point where we can't handle them. We can't debug the problems we have in the software fast enough. So this is why we need systems analysis, guys. And I really think that at some point it should be taught in schools for our own sanity and our own survival. So this is why this, the coming half an hour will be worth your time. But now today specifically, what we want to do is to use systems analysis views and principles and use them or kind of style them into system judo, into a form of martial arts. And this is the entire idea. You're meant to be using this when you're in a pickle, when you're actually being attacked, when you have to defend yourself against an actual physical attack. Okay, so I don't really know how to start it so that it's right for the audience, because I think the audience will include scientists and it will include academics, but it will also include people who have absolutely no idea what we're talking about. So I would like to talk in terms of pictures, okay? And I would like to start with the entire martial arts, theme as a soft introduction. So let me actually bring up one image that I would like to have in your mind. And I would like, so somebody I was in contact with said to me, okay, this is all really nice what you do with your joint investigation team and fighting, the intelligence agencies. It's all nice and well. But look, you are just weekly on YouTube, you have a live show and you're talking. But there's so much talking and there's not enough action. So this was coming from a military man addressed to me. And then he said, look, can you look at these guys? They are Israeli special forces, they really kick butt. Can you be like them? Can you somehow apply their principles and teach us how to be as effective as they can be using your systems things, I'm like, okay, hey, how about that for a challenge? So he sent me a couple of videos of a martial arts form that has been developed probably by Mossad and Israeli special forces and stuff like that. So I'm not even sure how to pronounce that. But he sent me 2 videos, and I was sitting there watching these videos over and over and thinking, okay, I can see that these guys are pretty good, but can I somehow translate what they're doing to the situation of an activist or somebody who's being attacked by the intelligence agencies, you know? And there are a couple of details that I picked up and that I would like to share. And I would like to start as an introduction. So think martial arts, have a look at these guys, and then think about what you would have to do in terms of systems to be just as cool as them, basically. So this is the video I would like to share with you. You can find it on YouTube. I am not even sure how to pronounce this martial arts. Is it, Krav Maga? And Alfred, do you know, have you ever heard about this?
Well, I haven't heard of that particular name, but I'm looking forward to learning more about it. It looks very interesting.
So what this is this is one of the videos that I was sent, you know, for my education. So I really took it in, you know, and as a little academic, I went to town with this. And one of the things I noticed, so in this video, they are trying to teach people how to disarm an attacker who's coming at you with a stick. Okay, so I mean, usually when somebody comes at you with a stick, I think the first advice is try to run away, you know. But if you can't run away, if you're really stuck, what are you going to do? And I would like to actually show you what these guys are doing here. And I would like to ask, oops, sorry, my buttons have disappeared. So I would like to ask everybody to have a look. So they briefly introduce this. Okay, and then they do a little demonstration. So this is somebody trying to attack, okay? And now look at what they're doing now. Okay, so this was the demonstration of somebody actually disarming the opponent. And I thought, well, that's really neat, but it was so fast, I couldn't actually see what he was doing. So now let's break it down into steps and try to apply it to your own situation. So you might be an activist, or you might be like me, you know, shot at with directed energy weapons. So, what are you going to do? So here's first a demonstration. So the attacker can hit you at 3 different points. Now this guy is coming from above, right? So he is really trying to hit this guy over the head. The guy has got just a split second to think. He recognizes the situation, and now watch what he does. Okay. So he, instead of, you know, kind of trying to protect his head and trying to bow down or take the beating, instead he literally lunged at this guy. So instead of going backwards, he leaped forward, he leaped through the attack, right? And he's using his arms to actually separate the guy from the stick. And then now look. Okay, he gives him one kick in the soft parts, always good. Another one, and then he takes the stick. All right, so it consisted of 3 steps, this entire thing. Now let's just watch it again, because this will be basically what you guys have to do now. So, you know, you go through all the possible steps, right? Yeah, and then you lunge, kicks, and take away the stick. All right. Pretty neat, right? I mean, I don't think I could do this in real life, I have to be honest. I don't think I have the necessary wherewithal. But in terms of systems, what would that mean for us if you want to be like that guy? If somebody attacks you, and I think most activists, the first thing that they have to struggle with is something I call administrative terrorism. So somebody scares you with either a court order, or a gagging order, or something, or comes after your money, your children, or whatever, okay? Now, the first instinct you will have, if you're normal, you know, is to kind of try to protect yourself. So everybody who's attacked the first time, if somebody attacks you, your instinct, your human instinct is to protect yourself. So you would go up like this. You would turn your head away, you know, protect your face, try to take the blow, and maybe lift up your arms. Now, in terms of systems, if you're being attacked by a system, a court system, a financial system, you would instantly do the same thing. You would try to protect yourself and take the blow. But this is not what these Israeli special forces guys are doing. When they are first attacked, they take a split second to recognize the situation, and then they go at the opponent. they literally tried to leap through his defenses and then to separate him, right, from the stick he's using to attack you with. So what would that mean? It would mean that you don't wait to be attacked. You basically lunge forward and you start the attack, the offensive attack yourself in that split second where your opponent hasn't started attacking you. So this could be if you get something that you think is out of order, someone has defrauded you with money or has done something to you that is really an attack. You don't protect yourself. You don't even waste any time trying to take the blow. You go for this guy. All right. So, for example, in my case, if you are being attacked by the intelligence agencies, I started being attacked with directed energy weapons. At the time, I hadn't actually figured out that this is a system judo move that, you know, the Israeli special forces would be recommending. I just did it by chance. I started being attacked with directed energy weapons. And when I figured out what was going on, I went straight to the London High Court and I requested an emergency injunction. Now, if I had actually, you know, had time to think about what I was doing, I would have looked up all the cases that had failed, where people have been horrifically mistreated by the court system. And, you know, you're never meant to go to court because courts are corrupt, and you're never meant to go to the police. But instead, I reported it to the police, and when the police did nothing, I went straight to court. So that was the total frontal attack, right? In the end, my court case was horrifically sabotaged, right? And that will be the subject of an upcoming court case. But what I got out of all this is that I made a public record of what was going on, okay? So this is, for example, something that you could get out of it. And then once you have this public record, you are already in the zone of your attacker, and you can take that public record to leverage it against the other party, either by going public and saying, look how corrupt this guy is, or by using the material for another court case or some follow-up or some insurance claim, or you name it. But the most important thing when you're being attacked is you do not waste time to kind of cower down or protect yourself. You go at them, right? And you try to take the split second to find out where's the stick, where's the brain controlling the stick, and you try to put yourself in between. That was also crucial. And then, of course, the next step that this Israeli guy did is to kick the other guy in the nuts, if I may say so, twice. Sorry, but this is exactly what you do. You try to land as many blows as you can possibly land against your opponent. So in terms of systems, it means that in a very fast sequence, you try to cause as much collateral damage as you can possibly cause. Now, most people who are not psychopaths or not aggressive would never think to act like that. They would just always play the defensive war, and they would say, okay, I got attacked. Well, I don't want to retaliate. You know, I don't want to be unfair. I'm just going to, you know, do as much as I need to do just to be safe, which is the equivalent of I just do as much as I need to do to be safe. But if somebody actually attacked you for no good reason, he might be a total psychopath. He might be out of his mind. So if you're just sitting there and you make a protective pose to a psychopath, that's an invite to finish you off, basically. So because these people don't think like us, you see. So when you launch an aggressive attack, it will be totally counterintuitive. It will be the exact opposite of what your instinct tells you. But what you're trying to do is you use basically the time period where the brain is still trying to control the stick to really get in there and launch a counterattack. And you have to be as aggressive as your opponent was when he first attacked you. At least, if you want to discourage him, you have to be even louder, even more aggressive, because only when your side, you know, is more aggressive will he back off. If he's more aggressive and he's on the up, he will just advance. So you have to keep in mind that this is how you have to be. And once you're in the zone of your opponent in this offensive war, you try to cause as much collateral damage as you can. And you use whatever motions he does to cause even more collateral damage. Now, I'm not saying you should finish people off physically. This is not what it's about. It's about administrative means. But for example, when the High Court sabotaged my case, they revealed their hand. they have revealed their own corrupt methods by, for example, they have modified the transcript, right? They've taken questions by the judge out on my answers. Well, with that, they've revealed that basically British intelligence is controlling the Royal Courts of Justice. They're controlling the audio system, but they've revealed their hand immediately, you know? So now, by actually saying it out loud, that is horrific, actually, long-term horrific collateral damage, because MI5, British intelligence, basically revealed, well, we're in there, we're controlling the audio recording, and we will just, you know, play with it to our heart's content. So it's stuff like that. You use the movements of your opponent, even when it's against you, to cause collateral damage, you know? So this is one way. And the reason why in System Judo this will be perfect is because if your opponent is very large, he will have incredible inertia. So once he set things into motion in these big pyramid organizations, he will issue commands and that will percolate through the system. And once a set of actions is decided upon, it takes a very long time to stop or reverse them. And you can actually get in and use that inertia to bring your opponent to the fall, basically. Okay, and then the final thing is to take the stick away, you know, but that's the next step.
Exactly. You know, this is really amazing to start to look at martial arts and then to apply it to administrative judo, which is what the say the Matrix is attempting to apply to humanity now, because they brought three things. They brought government, they brought religion, and they brought money. Those are three tools of control. They could be tools for enlightened living on a planet, you know, if they're collective and, you know, primarily for social and personal sovereignty and well-being. However, if they're for exploitation of a matrix controller class, then government, religion, and money are tools of control, right? So naturally, we would want to take those psychopaths, and there was a professor here at the University of British Columbia who wrote a book called The Corporation, which took the corporate form, i.e. a corporation is an artificial person. It's the closest thing to artificial intelligence as a natural person. And what the courts in the United States of America have done now is to give artificial persons like corporations greater rights because they have more capital and more money than natural persons, greater constitutional and civil and constitutional rights than natural persons, which is a perversion of democracy. And it's a perversion, and it's part of the terraforming of planet Earth by the artificial intelligence. Now, I just wanted to bring this to your attention with an apology and a question. Because we had technical difficulties earlier today, and we got started late, we're now at about 10 minutes of 11 at your end p.m. and 10 minutes of 2 p.m. at my side Pacific time. And I have to break for a pre-existing meeting of about 1 hour, which would end at about midnight your time and about 3 p.m. my time. Would it be possible to reconvene at midnight your time?
Absolutely.
I know that that's quite an imposition, or if not, we could reconvene tomorrow. Which is your preference?
I think at midnight it's perfect actually, because I've got another video broadcast that I have to start, and these
Okay.
days I'm half nocturnal because I work with Americans, so
Oh,
it's
okay.
all right.
With those apologies, then we'll stop here, and I will keep this link open so that at midnight you can just come back in.
Okay.
So thank you very much, and we'll start activating this on Facebook again at midnight Central European time and at 3 p.m. Pacific time. So thank you, all of those that are watching. Come back at 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. Mountain time, 5 p.m. Central time.
And bring some friends.
Okay, until then.
Bye.
Bye-bye.